Human guards arrived unarmed and the terrifying truth. Left the council speechless. Part 5, the proof the raiders came fast and hard. The Hollow Syndicate was known across the galaxy for brutal efficiency. They attacked stations, stole cargo, killed witnesses. Their soldiers were criminals, mercenaries, and killers who had nothing to lose. 60 of them poured through 3 breach points. Carrying plasma rifles and explosive charges, the station's regular guards tried to stop them. They failed within minutes. Lieutenant Doan took command without asking permission. None of the counselors objected. He spoke quickly, his voice calm and clear despite the chaos. Yuna, stay with the council. Keep them alive. Teho, secure engineering. If they take the power systems, we lose everything. I will handle the main breach. That breach has 28 hostiles, Yuna said. I know. By yourself? Doan was already moving toward the door. I work better alone in tight spaces. Keep the council safe, Sergeant. That is an order. The door opened, and he disappeared into the red-lit corridor. Ambassador Sela watched him go. Then she looked at Yuna. Is he insane? Yuna smiled. It was not a comforting smile. No, he is just very, very good at his job. The first raiders reached the council wing 7 minutes later. There were 8 of them, advancing in formation, checking corners, moving like professionals. They had already killed 6 station guards on their way here. They expected more of the same. They found Yuna instead. Ambassador Sela watched from behind an overturned table, her recording device capturing everything. She would watch this footage many times later, trying to understand what she had seen. She never fully understood. The first raider came through the door firing. Yuna was not where the shots went. She had already moved, sliding low, grabbing a broken ceiling panel from the floor. She used it as a shield, deflecting plasma bolts, then threw it like a blade. It hit the raider's weapon, knocking it from his hands. Before he could react, she was on him. Her hands moved in a blur, striking points on his body. He collapsed without a sound. The second and third raiders charged together. Yuna grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and sprayed it in their faces. While they were blinded, she swept one's legs and used his falling body to knock down the other. 2 quick strikes to the neck, and they were unconscious. The fourth raider was smarter. He held back, aiming carefully. But Yuna had already picked up a fallen plasma rifle. She did not use it to shoot. She threw it, spinning end over end, directly into his face. While he stumbled, she crossed the distance between them faster than should have been possible. Her elbow connected with his temple. He dropped. The remaining 4 raiders decided to attack all at once. It was a reasonable strategy. 4 against 1 should be overwhelming odds. It was not. Yuna flowed between them like water through fingers. She redirected their attacks into each other. She used their weapons against them. She struck pressure points that made limbs go numb, that made legs buckle, that made eyes see stars. In less than 20 seconds, all 4 were on the ground. 8 raiders. 1 small human woman. No weapons. She was not even breathing hard. In engineering, Taiho faced 12 raiders. The young man stood in the middle of the main control room, surrounded by enemies pointing weapons at him. Surrender, the raider leader said. You are outnumbered. Taiho looked around at the 12 armed criminals. He seemed to be counting something. 12, he said thoughtfully. That is actually less than I hoped for. The raider leader laughed. You are joking. You will die here, human. Maybe, Taiho agreed. But not today. And not to you. The lights went out. Taiho had studied the engineering systems on his way here. He knew where the manual switch was. He had reached it before the raiders even realized he was moving. In the darkness, the raiders heard sounds, movement, impacts, screaming. Something was hunting them in the black, and they could not see it. They fired wildly, hitting nothing, sometimes hitting each other. One by one, they fell. When the lights came back on, 12 raiders lay unconscious, tied together with power cables. Taiho sat on a console, reading a maintenance manual he had found. They were not very creative, he said when the security team arrived. At the main breach point, the situation was different. 28 heavily armed raiders moved through the corridors in force. They had already taken control of 2 docking bays. They were professionals, coordinated, deadly. Doan was waiting for them in a long corridor with no cover. Just him, standing alone, his hands at his sides. "One human," the raider commander said through his helmet speaker. "This is the famous human threat? Kill him." 6 raiders opened fire. Doan was not there. He had moved the instant before they pulled the triggers, reading their body language, knowing where the shots would go. He flowed through the corridor like a shadow, closing the distance before the raiders could adjust their aim. The first raider felt a hand on his weapon, twisting it away. Then something hit his throat, and he could not breathe. The second raider saw his friend fall and tried to turn. An elbow met his face. The third raider managed to fire, but his arm was already being redirected, and the shot hit the fourth raider instead. The lights went out. Doan had thrown something at the ceiling panels on his way in. In the darkness, the raiders heard a calm voice. "You can surrender. I recommend it." They did not surrender. They were the Hollow Syndicate. They did not know fear. They learned it. The sounds that followed were terrible. Impacts, cracks, screams of pain and confusion. Raiders firing blindly, hitting walls, hitting nothing, hitting each other. A calm voice in the darkness, always moving, never where they expected. When the lights returned, 28 raiders lay on the floor. Some were unconscious. Some were groaning. All were defeated, restrained with their own equipment. Dohan stood among them. He had a split lip where one raider had managed to land a lucky punch. It was the only injury any human sustained in the entire battle. The Council security footage showed everything. The counselors watched in silence as the humans moved through their station, taking apart 60 armed raiders without killing a single one, without using a single weapon. In under 12 minutes, after the raiders were secured and the station was safe, the Council gathered in their damaged chamber. The humans stood before them, looking exactly as they had when they first arrived. Calm, patient, dangerous. Counselor Vreth walked forward slowly. He stopped in front of Lieutenant Doan and looked at him for a long moment. "Why did you not kill them?" Vreth asked. His voice was quiet, almost humble. "You could have, easily. It would have been faster." Dohan considered the question. When he spoke, his voice was gentle. "Because the galaxy already fears us enough," he said. "We did not come here to prove we are dangerous. Everyone figured that out a long time ago. We came to prove we can be trusted, that we choose mercy when we do not have to. That is what makes us human." Vreth was silent for a long time. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He bowed, lowering his hard shell toward the human in a gesture of deep respect. "I was wrong about your species," he said. "I apologize." Doan nodded. "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do next." The Council voted that day to accept humanity into full partnership with the galactic community. It was unanimous. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Scylla approached Una near the docking bay. Her chromatophores showed patterns of curiosity and lingering fear. "That thing you did with the fire extinguisher," Scylla said. "Can that be taught?" Una smiled warmly. "Everything can be taught. But humans learn it faster because we are always a little bit afraid. Fear is a good teacher." Scylla watched the humans board their ship. The Haniel powered up its engines, preparing to depart. She thought about everything she had seen. The way the humans moved. The way they fought. The way they chose mercy when they held all the power. They walked among us unarmed. Scylla realized because they did not need weapons. They showed us mercy because they chose to. And perhaps that was the most terrifying truth of all. Humanity could conquer the galaxy if they wanted. But they would rather make friends. The Haniel lifted off and glided toward the stars. Ambassador Yunji sat in her quarters, looking out the window at the fading lights of Valor Prime. "Do you think they understood?" she asked. Lieutenant Dohan stood nearby, his split lip already starting to heal. "They understood enough. The rest will come with time, and if it doesn't?" Dohan smiled that small, unsettling smile. "Then we keep trying. That is what humans do. We never stop. Outside, the stars burned cold and eternal. But somehow, after today, they seemed a little less dark, a little more welcoming, a little more like home. The humans had arrived unarmed. They had left behind something far more powerful than weapons. They had left behind hope. Human guards arrived unarmed, and the terrifying truth left the council. Speechl Part 4, The Terrifying Truth. The private council chamber was deep inside Valor Prime. The walls were thick. The doors were sealed, and officially no recording devices were allowed. 12 counselors sat around a curved table, their guards standing behind them. But after what had happened in the training bay, those guards seemed less like protection and more like nervous spectators. Ambassador, Scylla's hidden recorder was still running. Some things were too important not to document. Lieutenant Doan stood alone in the center of the room. Ambassador Yunji sat at the human delegation's table, calm and patient. Yuna and Taiho waited near the door, watching the crowd with those unsettling eyes that seemed to see everything. "Speak," Counselor Vreth commanded. His voice was hard, but his hands were trembling slightly. "Explain what we saw today?" Doan nodded. He took a slow breath and began. "Every species in this room evolved on gentle worlds," he said. "Your planets had stable climates, predictable seasons, reasonable predators. When danger came, it came slowly and you had time to adapt. Your bodies became specialized, efficient, powerful in specific ways." He paused, looking around the room at the different species. The armored Keth, the aquatic Marin, the massive Torvax, each perfectly suited to their homeworld. "Humans did not have that luxury," Dohan continued. "Our planet is different. We call it Earth, but we should call it something else. We should call it what it really is." He met Vreth's eyes directly, a death world. The room was silent. Ambassador Scylla's chromatophores flickered with confusion. "I do not understand this term," she said. "Let me explain." Doan began to walk slowly around the room as he spoke. Earth has ice ages that cover half the planet in frozen death. It has supervolcanoes that block out the sun for years, earthquakes that destroy cities, hurricanes that flatten everything in their path. Every few million years, something causes a mass extinction that kills most life on the planet. The counselor shifted uncomfortably. 70% of our planet is water," Doan said. "But we cannot breathe it. If we fall in, we drown. The water is also filled with predators that can smell a single drop of blood from kilometers away. The air carries invisible diseases that can kill millions in weeks. The animals on our world evolved to hunt us, and we evolved to hunt everything." He stopped walking and faced the council directly. "We are not strong because our bodies are powerful. We are strong because we learned to never stop. Our ancient ancestors chased prey across open plains for days without rest. Not because we were fast. We were not fast. Not because we were strong. We were not strong. We simply did not quit. We kept following, walking, running, until the prey was too tired to fight back." "Persistence hunting," Ambassador Scylla said quietly. She had read about this in human databases, but she had not understood what it meant until now. "Yes," Doan said. "We are persistence predators. But that is only part of our nature." He tapped the side of his head. "This is the truly dangerous part. Our brains, what about your brains?" Vreth asked. "We are pattern recognition machines," Doan said. "Every second, without knowing it, we are analyzing everything around us. The way someone stands, the twitch of a muscle, the direction of a glance, the speed of breathing. We read these things automatically, like you read words on a page. We know what someone will do before they decide to do it." The room was very quiet now. "In the training bay," Dohan continued, "I did not defeat those warriors because I was stronger. I defeated them because I knew what they would do. I could see their attacks in their body language before their bodies moved. The same way my ancestors could see when an animal was about to run or fight or die." Counselor Vreth leaned back in his chair. "This is disturbing. It gets worse." Doan smiled slightly. "We did not bring weapons to this summit because we did not need them. To a trained human, everything is a weapon. This chair, that light fixture, the pen on your desk, the floor itself. Our bodies are weapons. Our minds are weapons. An unarmed human is not helpless. An unarmed human is unpredictable. And, in close combat, unpredictable is more dangerous than armed. Ambassador Sala spoke carefully. You could have killed those guards in the training bay. Easily, Doan admitted. In 17 different ways each. But I chose not to. We always choose not to when we can. That is the other thing about humans. What other thing? Doan's expression softened. We are very, very good at violence. Better than any species in this room knows. But we are tired of it. We have been killing each other for our entire history. Wars that lasted decades. Weapons that could destroy our whole planet. We learned, eventually, that violence without purpose is just death. So we try to choose mercy when we can. Then why become guards? Vreth asked. Why train for combat at all? Because sometimes mercy is not possible, Doan said quietly. Sometimes violence finds you whether you want it or not. When that happens, we are ready. But we do not enjoy it. We do not seek it. We simply survive it. A counselor from the Villani Federation spoke up. 3 of your guards neutralized 10 of our best warriors without any weapons. What would happen if your species decided to not show mercy? Dohan did not answer for a long moment. Then he said, Your ancestors told stories about monsters. Creatures that came in the darkness, that could not be stopped, that showed no pity. Those stories came from somewhere. They came from the time before you became civilized, when the universe was full of things that wanted to eat you. He met the Villani's 4 eyes with his 2. Humans are what happens when the monster and the prey are the same creature. We are both the hunter and the hunted, the killer and the killed. We know fear because we have always lived with it. And that fear made us into something that should not exist. Something that can adapt to anything. Survive anything. And if we must end anything. The chamber was absolutely silent. Counselor Vreth pushed his chair back from the table without realizing he was doing it. You are saying, Ambassador Scylla said slowly, that your species is a walking weapon. I am saying that my species is dangerous in ways you have never imagined, Dohan replied. But I am also saying that we choose not to be. Every day, every moment, we choose peace because we know what we are capable of. That is why we came here unarmed. Not because we are harmless, because we wanted you to see that we can be trusted. Before anyone could respond, an alarm screamed through the station. Red lights flashed. The chamber's door locked automatically. A mechanical voice announced, Alert, hostile ships detected. Multiple breach points. All personnel to defensive positions. The counselors looked at each other in panic. Their guards raised weapons. Dohan turned to Yuna and Taiho. His face had changed. The calm philosophy teacher was gone. Something older looked out through his eyes. Something that had been hunting since before history began. How many? He asked. Yuna was already listening to her communicator. 17 ships? The Hollow Syndicate, raiders, approximately 60 hostiles breaching the station at 3 points. Weapons? Heavy. Doan nodded. He looked at the council one more time. Watch carefully, he said. You wanted to know what humans can do. Now you will see it. Yuna cracked her knuckles. It was a small sound, almost friendly. Finally, she said. Human guards arrived unarmed and the terrifying truth left the council speechless. Part 3, the demonstration. The training bay was large enough to hold a small ship. The walls were covered with padding, and the floor was made of a soft material that would cushion falls. Around the edges, behind thick, transparent shields, the council members had gathered to watch. Counselor Vreth stood at the front, his arms crossed, his face hard. Ambassador Sella floated in her water suit nearby. Her recording devices active despite the rules against them. In the center of the bay stood Lieutenant Dohan, Sergeant Yuna, and Private Taiho. They wore the same simple black uniforms they had arrived in. No armor, no weapons. They looked small in the large space, Facing them were 10 of the finest guards from 5 different species. 2 massive Torvax soldiers, their stone-like skin gleaming under the lights. 3 Keth warriors, still furious about what had happened to Crix. 2 Marin fighters in combat suits designed for speed. 2 guards from the Villani Federation, known for their 4 arms and lightning reflexes. And 1 Droth, a species of natural predators with claws that could cut through metal. Each alien guard carried a stun, baton and restraint devices. The weapons would not kill, but they would hurt. A lot. The rules are simple, announced the training master, a neutral official from the station. The exercise ends when one side is fully restrained or unable to continue. The humans have refused weapons. This is their choice. Their funeral, muttered one of the Keth warriors. Taiho yawned. It was not meant as an insult. He was simply tired. But the aliens saw it as mockery, and their anger grew hotter. Begin, the training master said. The 10 alien guards moved immediately. They had trained together for this. They used hand signals, coordinated movements, professional tactics. 2 Torvax charged from the front while the Keth flanked from the sides. The Marins circled around to block retreat. The Villani stayed back, ready to grab anyone who slipped through. The Droth crouched, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It was a perfect formation. It lasted 4 seconds. Una moved first. She did not run toward the attackers. She stepped sideways, just slightly, putting herself between 2 charging Torvax. The massive soldiers swung their batons at her. She was not there. She had already moved again, and the 2 Torvax hit each other instead. Their own force, redirected by a simple twist of Una's body, sent them crashing to the ground. The Keth warriors reached Doan. 1 swung high, 1 swung low, 1 thrust straight at his chest. Doan flowed between the attacks like water through rocks. His hands touched the warriors gently, pressing points on their bodies that made their muscles freeze. In 3 heartbeats, all 3 Keth were on the floor, unable to move but completely conscious. They could feel everything. They just could not respond. Taiho walked toward the Marin guards almost casually. They were fast, trained for underwater combat where speed meant survival. But Taiho was already inside their reach before they realized he had moved. He grabbed one guard's wrist and twisted. The guard made a sound that was probably screaming in their language. The other guard tried to help, but Taiho used the first guard as a shield, tangling them together, and pushed them both to the ground with minimal effort. The Villani were good. 4 arms meant 4 weapons, 4 chances to hit. They attacked Una together, batons spinning in complex patterns. Una watched them for half a second, reading their rhythm. Then she stepped into the pattern between the swinging batons and struck 2 pressure points on each guard. The Villani's 4 arms went limp at their sides. Their eyes showed shock and horror as they collapsed. The Droth was the most dangerous. Natural predator, claws extended, moving with savage grace. It leaped at Doan, certain of the kill. Doan caught 1 claw in each hand. The Droth's eyes went wide. No species could match their strength in close combat. No species had ever stopped their charge. Dohan smiled gently. Your left shoulder is weak, he said quietly. Old injury. You favor your right side. Also, you telegraph your jumps by flexing your back legs. Then he twisted, using the Droth's own momentum, and threw the predator across the training bay. The Droth hit the padded wall and slid to the floor, unconscious. 43 seconds. The training bay was silent. 10 of the galaxy's finest warriors lay on the ground. Some were unconscious. Some were paralyzed by pressure point strikes. Some were tangled in their own restraint devices, which the humans had somehow used against them. The 3 humans stood in the center of the bay. Doan was not breathing hard. Una was straightening her uniform. Taiho was checking something under his fingernail, behind the shields. The council members stared in absolute silence. Ambassador Scylla found her voice first. How? Her chromatophores were pale with shock. Your species is so fragile. You die from temperature changes, from minor falls, from diseases, from time itself. How can you do this? Doan looked at her. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he spoke, and his voice was calm and clear. That is exactly why. Counselor Vreth stepped forward, his voice shaking. I do not understand. Explain this, now. Doan looked at Ambassador Yunji, who had been watching from the observation area. She nodded once. Very well, Dohan said. But we should do this in private. What I am about to tell you is the truth about humanity. And I warn you now, counselors, you will not sleep well after you hear it. The training master called for medical teams to help the fallen guards. None were seriously injured. Doan had made sure of that. But as the alien warriors were carried away, they looked at the humans with something new in their eyes. It was not anger. It was not shame. It was fear. Pure. Primal fear, and the worst part was, they did not even know why yet. Human guards arrived unarmed, and the terrifying truth left the council speechless. Part 2. The first test. The grand atrium of Valor Prime was filled with light and color. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbows across the polished floor. Hundreds of diplomats and their guards moved through the space, talking, drinking, making deals in shadowed corners. It was the opening reception, and everyone who mattered was here. Ambassador Yunji stood near a fountain, speaking with representatives from the Marin Collective. Her guards stood nearby, watching the crowd. Dohan was close to her right side. Yuna had positioned herself near a pillar with a clear view of 3 entrances. Taiho wandered through the crowd, looking bored, but his eyes never stopped moving. The figure in the maintenance uniform had changed clothes. Now he wore the simple gray robe of a servant, carrying a tray of drinks. His name was Crix, and he was one of the finest killers the Keth Dominion had ever produced. He had murdered 37 targets across 12 star systems. He had never failed. Tonight his target was the human ambassador. Crix moved through the crowd smoothly. His heart rate was slow and steady. He had trained for years to control his body, to show no sign of his intentions. The blade hidden in his sleeve was made of a special material that did not show on any scanner. One quick strike to the human's neck and it would be over. The humans would learn that they could not walk into the council's halls without proper protection. They would learn their place. He was 10 meters from the ambassador when he activated his cloaking device. The air around him shimmered and he became nearly invisible. Just a blur, a trick of light. He had used this device many times. No guard had ever spotted him. Yuna spotted him. She did not react immediately. She simply shifted her weight, changing her position by a small amount. Her eyes tracked the shimmer as it moved closer to the ambassador. She spoke quietly into a small communicator. Contact. Moving toward the principal, cloaked, 8 meters and closing. Dawn's voice came back, calm as still water. I see it, Taiho. Ready? Taiho replied from somewhere in the crowd. The shimmer was 5 meters away now. Crix could see his target clearly. The human woman was laughing at something the Marin ambassador had said. She had no idea Death was walking toward her. 4 meters. 3. Ambassador. Yunji suddenly turned and walked toward the drink table, pulled by some invisible force. Yuna had touched her elbow, guiding her with gentle pressure, making it look natural. Crix adjusted his path. 2 meters now. He could almost reach out and touch her. A serving drone crashed into him. Taiho had bumped the drone with his hip as he walked past, sending it spinning across the floor directly into Crix's path. The collision was light, but it broke Crix's concentration. His cloak flickered. And then Doan was behind him. Crix had not seen him move. One moment the human guard was near the fountain, 3 meters away. The next moment he was so close that Crix could feel his breath on his neck. Hello, Doan said quietly. Crix spun, bringing his blade up in a killing strike. He was fast. He was one of the fastest killers in the galaxy. Doan was faster. The human caught Crix's wrist, twisted it at an angle that should not have been possible, and pushed down. There was a soft pop as Crix's shoulder left its socket. The blade fell to the floor. Crix tried to scream, but Doan's other hand was already pressing a point on his neck that turned the scream into a whisper. 3 seconds. That was all it took. The armed guards from other species finally noticed something was wrong. They turned, weapons rising, shouting warnings. But the fight was already over. Doan held Crix gently, almost kindly, as if helping a friend who had fallen. He leaned close to the assassin's ear and whispered something. Crix's face, already pale from pain, turned white as snow. "What did you say to him?" Una asked later. "I told him I had been counting his heartbeats from across the room," Dohan said. "I knew what he was going to do before he decided to do it." The atrium was in chaos now. Guards surrounded the fallen assassin. Counselor Vreth pushed through the crowd, his eyes wide with fury and something else. Something that might have been fear. What happened? He demanded. "What trick is this?" "No trick," Doan said calmly. "Just training." "That is impossible. Our cloaking technology is perfect. No species can detect it." Doan looked at him. "Your cloaking technology bends light? It does not bend air. It does not silence footsteps. It does not hide the smell of weapon oil or the sound of breathing. Your assassin was invisible to eyes. He was not invisible to everything else." Ambassador Scylla pushed forward, her chromatophores flashing with complex patterns. "How did you know where to be?" "The station security footage shows you moved before the assassin's muscles tensed. You knew what he would do before his own body knew." Doan smiled that small, unsettling smile. "Humans have been hunting for 200,000 years, Ambassador. We learn to read our prey. Every creature gives signs before it acts. We see them without thinking. That is not possible for a species so young." "Young?" Doan shook his head. "Counselor, we are not young. We just joined your council recently. But we have been fighting, hunting, and surviving since before your species learned to make fire. Our planet tried to kill us every day. We learned fast, or we died." The crowd was silent now. Every alien in the atrium was staring at the humans with new eyes. Counselor Vreth stepped back without meaning to. He had sent Crix. He had wanted to teach the humans a lesson. Instead, he had learned one. "We demand an explanation," another counselor said. "A full demonstration of your capabilities." Doan looked at Ambassador Yunji. She nodded. "Very well," Doan said. "Tomorrow we will show you what humans can do. I hope you are ready." That night, Crix was found in his cell. He had not been physically harmed beyond his dislocated shoulder, but he sat in the corner, refusing to speak, his eyes staring at nothing. When asked what the human had whispered to him, he only shook his head and trembled. Some secrets, it seemed, were too frightening to share. Human guards arrived unarmed, and the terrifying truth left the council. Speechless Part 1. The arrival of the space station floated in the darkness between 3 star systems. It was called Valor Prime, and it belonged to no one. For 200 years, the 12 great species of the galaxy had met here to talk, to argue, and sometimes to make peace. Today was the annual security summit, and ships from every corner of known space were arriving. Counselor Vreth stood near the main docking window, watching the ships come in. He was tall and thin, with a hard shell covering his body like armor. His people, the Keth, were warriors. They had conquered 6 worlds before joining the council. Vreth was proud of this history. He looked at the guards standing behind him. 20 of his best soldiers, each carrying plasma rifles that could burn through steel. Their armor could stop almost any weapon. This was proper. This was how important people should be protected. The other species brought similar protection. The Marin arrived with guards wearing water-filled suits and carrying sonic weapons. The Torvax brought massive soldiers, 3 meters tall, with hands that could crush stone. Every delegation walked through the docking bay with armed escorts, shields glowing, weapons ready. Then the human ship arrived. It was a small vessel, simple in design, painted dark gray. The name on the side read Hanuel. When the docking clamps locked onto the hull, a soft hiss filled the air. The doors opened. 5 figures walked out. They wore simple black uniforms with no armor. Their hands were empty. No weapons hung from their belts. No shields protected them. They walked calmly, looking around the docking bay with quiet interest. Vreth made a sound of disgust. "What is this?" he said loudly, not caring who heard. Did the humans forget where they were going? Other aliens stopped to watch. Whispers spread through the crowd like fire. The human at the front was a man of medium height with short dark hair. His name was Doan, and he held the rank of lieutenant. Behind him walked a woman named Yuna, smaller than him but with sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. The youngest was a man called Taiho, barely 25 years old, who moved with the lazy confidence of a sleeping predator. 2 more guards followed, and behind them came Ambassador Yunji, a woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her black hair and a calm smile on her face. Ambassador Scylla of the Marin Collective watched them approach. Scylla was curious by nature. Her species lived in the deep oceans of their homeworld, and they had learned long ago that the most dangerous creatures were often the quietest. She moved closer, her water suit humming softly. Ambassador, Scylla said, greeting the human woman. I notice your guards carry no weapons. Yunji smiled. They carry what they need. And what is that? Themselves. Scylla did not understand this answer. Before she could ask more, Counselor Vreth pushed forward. His guards followed, their weapons clicking as they moved. This is an insult, Vreth said, pointing one long finger at the humans. You come to the security summit without security? Do you think this is a game? Do you think we are fools? Lieutenant Doan looked at Vreth calmly. He did not seem angry or afraid. He seemed almost relaxed. Counselor, Doan said, his voice quiet but clear, we brought what we needed. Nothing more, nothing less. You brought nothing. That is your opinion. Vreth's eyes narrowed. In Keth culture, such calm in the face of challenge was either madness or supreme confidence. He did not believe humans capable of either. When something goes wrong, Vreth said coldly, and it will, do not expect our guards to save you. Doan smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but something about it made Vreth uncomfortable. We won't, Doan said. The humans walked past, heading toward their assigned quarters. The crowd parted to let them through, staring at these strange, soft creatures who had come to the most important meeting in the galaxy with nothing but their clothes. Yuna walked beside Doan, her eyes moving constantly, scanning faces, watching hands, counting exits. The Keth counselor has 3 hidden blades, she said quietly. 2 in his sleeves, 1 in his boot. I counted 4, Doan replied. Small one behind his neck crest. Ah, missed that one. Taiho walked behind them, his hands in his pockets. The big Torvax guard has a bad knee. Left side. Old injury. Good eye, Doan said. What else? 17 security cameras in this corridor. 4 blind spots. The Marin ambassador is recording us with a device in her water suit. And someone in the crowd had elevated heartbeat and dilated pupils. 4th row, near the support pillar. Wearing a maintenance uniform that doesn't fit right? Yuna glanced at Doan. Assassin? Probably. We'll keep watch. They reached their quarters and went inside. The rooms were simple but comfortable. Ambassador Yunji sat down with a tired sigh. The council is not happy with our choice, she said. The council doesn't understand, Dohan replied. Not yet, and when they do? Dohan walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in this station, someone was planning violence. He could feel it the way some people felt changes in weather. It was coming. When they understand, he said quietly, they will be afraid. But fear is not our goal. Trust is. We just need to show them who we really are. Outside their window, the false stars of the space station glowed. The summit would begin in 12 hours. And somewhere in the shadows of Valor Prime, a figure in a maintenance uniform checked his hidden blade and waited for his moment. The humans had arrived unarmed. They had no idea how dangerous that made them.